Hi everyone, today is December 11th and we are right in the middle of the Advent season. So what's Advent? Well, Advent is the first season of the liturgical church year. So basically, Happy New Year! It's a time of expectant waiting for the nativity of Jesus, and since this has happened over 2,000 years ago already, it's now the expectant waiting for the second coming. Now, the word Advent is derived from the Latin word adventus, which means arrival or coming. And Advent begins on the fourth Sunday before Christmas. This will either fall on the last Sunday in November or the first Sunday in December. And no one's 100% sure when the celebration of Advent first began. Some say it started with the apostles or that it was founded by St. Peter. However, historians do know that it was in existence in the 5th century CE. Some say that it began when Bishop Perpetuus declared that fasting would occur 3 times per week with the St. Martin's Day until Christmas time period. Now, Advent became known as the Lent of St. Martin's. It also took the name of the Nativity Fast or the Fast of December. And records from Gregory the Great show that it was a 4-week observance during the late 6th century, but they didn't have any fasting. So observation dates for Advent range from St. Martin's Day, November 11th, or starting November 15th, or starting December 6th, to only a few days before Christmas. It seemed like no one knew exactly when to celebrate Advent, or whether they should fast or not. Finally, the Catholic Church standardized the time frame to 4 weeks before Christmas and did not observe fasting. In 1963, the Second Vatican Council made a minor change to Advent, emphasizing Advent as a season of hope for Christ's second coming. So, along with seasons of the church year, they have corresponding colors for that particular season. So what color is Advent? Well, since approximately the 13th century, Western Christianity has used violet as the color of Advent. Now, Pope Innocent III, who was around in 1160 to about 1216, declared that the color should be black. In fact, there were some periods of time when the celebration of Advent was actually more solemn than the celebration of Lent. Now, some Christian denominations use blue. This is a liturgical color of hope. And using blue dates back to the Church of Sweden and the medieval Sarum Rite in England. In addition, blue was used in the 8th century by various Catholic and Anglican worship rites. Hence, the color became known as Sarum Blue. Many Protestant churches have begun using blue instead of purple because it emphasizes a season of hope and expectation for Bethlehem and the second coming. Now, along with the actual church season, there are actually old Advent traditions. In England, poor women would carry Advent images. 2 dolls dressed to represent Jesus and the Virgin Mary. Each house they would visit would be expected to donate a half-a-penny coin. Bad luck was thought to befall a household who wasn't visited before Christmas Eve at the latest. In Normandy, farmers would employ children under 12 to run through the fields and orchards with torches, setting fire to bundles of straw. This was thought to drive out the vermin that might actually damage the crops. I'm a little more concerned about the children under 12 with a whole bunch of fire. In Italy, the Calabrian bagpipe players enter into Rome during the last days of Advent and play before the shrines of Mary. The Italians believe that the shepherds played these pipes when they came to the manger. Not sure bagpipes were invented back then, but, who knows? Now, current Advent traditions are a large particular Advent candle. Each section is burned each day until Christmas Eve. That's less common than the Advent calendar, where one window is opened each day until Christmas Eve, often revealing tiny presents or candies behind each door. Now, if you've kept up with traditions, if you go to Aldi's, there's supposed to be an Advent calendar for adults, where wine and cheese wait behind each door that's opened until Christmas. In many countries, the first day of Advent is the start of the Christmas season. Christmas trees and decorations are often put up during that time. Now, since 2011, an Advent labyrinth with 2,500 tea lights has been formed for the third Sunday of Advent in Frankfurt, Germany. Not sure if they're doing that this year during the pandemic, but we'll find out. Now, one of the big traditions of Advent is the Advent wreath. Now, the concept of the Advent wreath was begun by German Lutherans in the 16th century. The modern Advent wreath, however, originated in 1839 by Johann Heinrich Weikern, a Protestant pastor in Germany. Now, the children Weikern was teaching were extremely impatient for Christmas, not unlike today. So he made a ring of wood with 19 small red taper candles and 4 large white candles. Every morning a small candle was lit, and every Sunday a large candle was lit. Now, current custom has retained only the large Sunday candles, and they're usually lit 1 per week during the Advent services. Now, does the Advent wreath have any meanings? As a matter of fact, it does. The wreath crown is traditionally made of tree branches knotted with a red ribbon and decorated with pine cones, holly, laurel, and sometimes mistletoe. It's an ancient symbol signifying many things. The crown symbolizes victory. The round form of the crown evokes the sun and its return each year. The number 4 represents 4 Sundays in Advent and the 4 seasons and the 4 cardinal virtues. The green color of the fir boughs is the sign of life and hope. The fir tree itself is a symbol of strength, and the laurel a symbol of victory over sin and suffering. These two, with the holly, do not lose their leaves, thus representing the eternity of God. The flames of the candles represent the Christmas light approaching and bringing hope and peace, also a symbol of the struggle against darkness. For Christians, the crown shape is symbolic of Christ the King, and the holly represents the crown of thorns. Now, on the Advent wreath, there are usually 4 Advent candles. Usually 3 violet or blue candles and 1 pink candle. That 1 pink candle is lit the 3rd Sunday of Advent, which is actually coming up this Sunday, and it is considered Gaudete Sunday, which means joy. Now, there are many candle interpretations. What are the meaning of each candle? One particular interpretation includes 1 candle being the salvation before the coming of the Messiah, the forgiveness granted to Adam and Eve. Candle number 2, faith of Abraham and the patriarchs who believe in the gift of the promised land. The 3rd candle would be the joy of David, and the 4th candle, teaching of the prophets who announce a reign of justice and peace. Personally, I've never heard of that particular interpretation, but I have heard hope, peace, joy, and love. Those are the interpretations, one interpretation of the candle. Some other churches believe in faithfulness, hope, joy, and love. Some other churches believe it's prophets, angels, shepherds, and magi. And finally, another church believes faith, prayer, joy, and love. Those are all possible interpretations of the Advent candles. Now, Advent music. Advent music is a source of controversy because although there is plenty of it, people don't like to sing it. Why? Because they would much rather sing Christmas carols. Totally agree, but Advent has its own music, and many churches hold special musical events during Advent, including the service of 9 lessons and carols. Handel's Messiah is also often performed during this time. Bach himself wrote several cantatas for Advent, however, they could only be performed on the 1st Sunday of Advent. Advent was considered a silent time, which allowed cantata music only on the 1st Sunday. Now, there are some well-known and not so well-known Advent hymns, including Hark the Glad Sound, Light One Candle to Watch for Messiah, People Look East, Come Thou Long Expected Jesus, and one that's known pretty well is So Come, O Come, Emmanuel. Interestingly enough, some churches consider the hymn Joy to the World to be an Advent hymn. Others put it in with Christmas. So now you know the history of Advent. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments section below. And as always, thanks for watching.